Hello artists! Today we are coloring our geometric heart designs. So you have a choice of medium. Medium is the supplies you're using to color your picture. So you could use watercolor paints, you could use markers, or you could use crayons or colored pencils. Your goal is to color the hearts with an analogous color scheme. So analogous means colors that are next to each other on the color wheel. All right, so to pick some analogous colors, I'm going to look through my colored pencil bin. So I know that we've got red and blue, and that makes purple. So those three are analogous colors, two primaries and a secondary. That's perfect. So I'm going to look for a good red. I've got a red, and I've got a sort of bluish, purplish pink. This one's called magenta. And then I've got two kinds of blue that I can use. So this is going to be really cool because I've got two different shades of blue. I've got a dark blue and a light blue, and those will really help me add depth to my heart. I'm going to go sharpen my magenta. That's better. And I got a big old eraser, so I can start by erasing my colors first, or erasing my pencil lines first. So any pencil lines that are sticking out from behind the Sharpie, I'm just going to erase those and make sure I get all that eraser dust off. All right, so I'm gonna start with this heart up top, and I'm gonna use my colored pencils. So I'm gonna start by marking out where my colors are gonna go. So this one's gonna be pink, pinkish purple. This one's gonna be pink. And I'm just sort of doing like every other. So I wanna space them out. I don't want the same colors to be right next to each other. And I guess this one down here. These two will be light blue. Okay, so when I'm filling this in with my colored pencil, I can start really lightly and just sort of shade it in. And I'm just going up and down with my pencil. And now I'm going to go side to side. So changing direction can help darken the space as well and make it look really smooth. All right, so then you can fill in the rest of your heart. It's a little trickier to use watercolor paints or markers. Markers especially because the analogous colors are harder to find. Like there's no light and dark blue marker, but there are pinks and purples of various shades. So that's a nice way to go about that. Maybe I want to use yellow, which is a primary. Yeah, there we go. Green and blue. That's a totally good for analogous colors, yellow, green, and blue, but I want to add a little bit more to it. So I'm going to add a light green, and that's 4 colors. I could also try to add a teal as well. That's a really great analogous color scheme. Maybe I drop the yellow, and I'm just using various shades of green and blue, but there needs to be at least 3 markers in my hand, right? Those are the analogous grouping, is 3 or more colors that are right next to each other. Watercolor paints, you can mix them a little bit, which I think would help create the analogous colors. Adding water to my brush. So let's say I'm going to do the hot colors. So I'm going to do red, orange, and yellow, but I'm going to mix together orange and yellow to make a 4th color. So let's see, when I do that, maybe I'll do it on this larger heart. I'm going to erase my pencil lines first with my giant eraser. Okay. So let's start with red, dripping a little bit of water into each of the ovals first to start. So the paints are all juicy and ready to paint. All right, so got that going. Let's start with red, and I'm just gonna put a little spot of red on a couple of the spaces so I know not to color inside those ones because those are gonna be red. Maybe this one. All right, so those are going to be red. Now I'm going to do orange ones, just a regular old orange. And this one and that one. And now I'm going to do yellow. Oop. Doot. That one. That one. I guess that's good. All right, so now I'm going to mix together my 2 colors. So I'm going to start with some yellow. I'm going to put it on a space in here. There's a little bit of red in there already, but that's okay. I'm not worried about that. If you want to take a paper towel and kind of wipe out this tray, that will help your colors not get too muddy. And then a little orange. See how I clean my brush in between? I'm going to mix that together. So now I've created this kind of new color, and I'm going to fill that in. It looks a lot like my orange though, so I think I'm going to add a little more yellow. So you can determine, that looks the same, that needs to look a little bit lighter or a little bit darker. That's a little bit better. Again, with the watercolor paint, it's going to be a little bit trickier to stay inside those lines, but you got this. Oh yeah, look at that. So this orange is clearly darker than my yellow orange that I just mixed. So this is a secondary color. This orange is made by mixing red and yellow, but this light orange that I made with yellow and orange is a tertiary color. So we've got our primary colors, red and yellow, secondary orange, and tertiary color, yellow orange. All right, I'm gonna fill in the rest of this heart. All right, my heart is all done. The only problem I ran into was that some of the colors were kind of starting to bleed together. So I was trying not to use a lot of paint, and I was definitely trying to not jostle my paper too much. I also was noticing that sometimes I would run into this problem where the colors were like close together and I had another space I had to fill. So I invented another color. So I added a little more orange and a little more red to this color on my tray. And so I have not only regular orange, but I have this yellow orange and then this more lighter, paler orange, but it's definitely orange. So you can kind of play with the colors and decide, well, I'm going to make this a little shade darker, or I'm going to make this a little shade lighter to make just slight differences. And that'll make your picture not only more interesting, but definitely more complex and look a little bit more 3D, like a jewel or stained glass. All right, if you decide to use paint, go for it. I'm really excited to see it. If you decide to use coloring tools or a mixture of both, great. I would do the coloring first because now I'm going to have to be really careful and reach around my painted heart to finish this one with my colored pencils. So maybe do the colored pencils or markers first and then the paint last if you're going to use both. But it is up to you, whatever your medium of choice is. Let's go.